All right, we are going way, way back, right to the very beginning of human history. We're going to unpack one of the oldest stories ever told. I mean, this is a tale that has literally shaped how we think about jealousy, morality, and our responsibility to each other for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, think about it. Right at the dawn of humanity, you get this incredibly dramatic story. You've only got a handful of characters, but the stakes, they could not be higher. This is so much more than just some family argument. This is the story of the very first crime, the first murder in human history. Okay, so let's set the scene. It all kicks off with two brothers, Cain and Abel. They're the sons of Adam and Eve, living in a world that is, still completely brand new. So on one side, you've got Cain. He's a farmer, right? He works the ground, and here's a really fascinating little detail from the footnotes in the source text. His name is connected to the Hebrew word for produced or acquired, and that's exactly what his mother, Eve, said, that she had acquired a man with the Lord's help. Pretty cool, huh? Then on the other side, you have his younger brother, Abel, and he's a shepherd. So right away, you've got two very different jobs, two different paths in this new world. And this is where things really start to heat up. It's time to make an offering to God, and the details here are absolutely crucial. Cain, he just brings some of his crops, but Abel, he brings the best parts of the firstborn lambs. See the difference? The text really makes it clear that it's not just about what you give, but the intent behind it, the quality of the offering. That seems to matter just as much. And the response from God, it's immediate, and it's not equal. Abel's offering is accepted, but Cain's is not. And this isn't just a simple disappointment for Cain. The text says he becomes very angry and dejected. You can just feel it, right? This is the exact moment that seed of resentment gets planted, and, well, everything is about to change. But here's the thing. Cain's anger, it doesn't go unnoticed. And in this really crucial moment, he's actually given a choice, a chance to turn back from the path he's headed down. Before the terrible act happens, there's a conversation. God actually speaks directly to Cain, calls out his anger, and lays out a super clear choice between right and wrong. So this isn't just some sudden, impulsive act of passion. No, it's a deliberate decision made even after getting a direct warning from God. And listen to this, because it's one of the most powerful lines in the whole story. God describes sin like it's a predator, an animal crouching at the door just waiting to pounce and control you. But, and this is the key part, the responsibility is put right on Cain's shoulders. The command is, you must subdue it and be its master. The choice is all his. But he doesn't master it. Instead, one day he suggests to his brother, hey, let's go out into the fields. And it's there, away from everyone, that the first act of human violence against another human happens. The text is just so blunt, so brutal. It says Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. So the deed is done, but believe me, this story is far from over. Now comes the confrontation and the inevitable, truly earth-shattering consequences. So after the murder, God confronts Cain, and he does it with this incredibly simple yet totally piercing question. It's a question that already knows the answer, really. It's giving Cain one last chance to just come clean. And Cain's reply, wow, it has echoed through all of human history. It's a lie, first of all, and it's a total deflection. This cynical, sarcastic question, am I my brother's guardian? Or, as you've probably heard it, am I my brother's keeper? That question becomes the central moral challenge of this entire story. God's response is just so powerful. The crime isn't hidden, no way. The very ground now stained with Abel's blood is a witness. What a haunting image, right? The idea that the earth itself is literally crying out for justice. So here's the thing about the punishment. It fits the crime perfectly. Think about it. Cain, the farmer, the man of the soil, is now cursed from that very same ground he used to work. It won't grow crops for him anymore. He's condemned to be a homeless wanderer, totally exiled and cut off from everything he's ever known. Okay, now let's talk about the mark of Cain, because this is super interesting and often really misunderstood. We tend to think of it as a mark of shame, right? But if you look at the text, it's actually the complete opposite. Cain is worried that now that he's in exile, anyone can just kill him. So God places a mark on him, not for shame, but for protection. It's a warning to everyone else not to mess with him. And with that, Cain's fate is sealed. He leaves God's presence and goes to live in the land of Nod. And here's just a brilliant piece of literary detail. The footnotes point out that the name Nod in Hebrew actually means wandering. How incredible is that? His punishment has literally become his new home address. But hold on, because Cain's story doesn't just end with him wandering off into the sunset. No, as a wanderer, he actually goes on to build a family and even founds the very first city. But it's a civilization that's, built in the shadow of his crime. A few generations down the line, we meet his descendants, and they are total innovators. I mean, we see the invention of raising livestock and living in tents, the birth of music with harps and flutes, and even forging tools from bronze and iron. So on the one hand, you've got civilization advancing. Culture is literally being created. But on the other hand, right alongside all that incredible innovation, the violence has just gotten worse. It's escalated. Cain's descendant, a guy named Lamech, openly boasts to his wives about killing a man. And then he takes that divine protection that God gave to Cain and twists it into this personal threat of insane, multiplied revenge. And this just illustrates the downward spiral perfectly. Think about it. God promised that anyone who killed Cain would face a sevenfold punishment. Now, Lamech, in his total arrogance, claims a 77-fold vengeance for himself. The sin isn't just being repeated here, folks. It's being multiplied, big time. So just as the story of Cain's descendants hits this really dark peak of arrogance and violence, the narrative pivots. The story shifts and offers us a little glimmer of hope. It turns out Adam and Eve have another son, and Eve names him Seth. The text is very clear about why. She says he has been granted to her as a replacement for Abel, the son she lost. You can feel the hope, right? Hope for a new family line, one that isn't defined by murder. And this is pretty much where the chapter leaves us. The story wraps up by saying that after Seth's own son, Enosh, was born, that's when people first began to worship the Lord by name. It signals a totally new beginning, a different path of community and faith that's a world away from the violence we saw in the line of Cain. So, in the end, the story takes Cain's cynical, dismissive question, and it turns it right back around on us. It becomes a challenge, a question about our responsibility to each other that is just as powerful, just as relevant today as it was at the very dawn of time. So the story asks you, are you your brother's keeper?